A man broke up with his ex-fiancée 4 times while they were engaged. The 4th time occurred over the phone on Valentine's Day while he was away. Finally, he said yes. Bring back the ring and pick up your stuff, they said. Simple, right? She showed up to his mom's house with her mother, took the ring off, handed it over, collected her belongings, and then looked around the living room and said, "Shouldn't I get more? I'm entitled to half of a house. She never lived in that. She never paid a single bill toward his mother's house." And her mom backed her up, started pointing at furniture. This is a 1-story video from the subreddit Pro Revenge with 1 update. Full story, full closure. Timestamps are below. This post is by a user we'll call Drew. My ex-fiancé broke up with me 4 times, cheated on me with a coworker, and then showed up at my mom's house, demanding half my family's stuff because we were engaged. I laughed in her face. Then she tried to take the ring back, too. My ex-fiancé cheated on me, broke up with me 4 times during an 18-month engagement, and then when I finally agreed to end it, she showed up at my mother's house with her mom and demanded half of everything like we'd gone through a divorce. We never even lived together. She wanted my mom's TV. I wish I was joking. Here's the whole thing. I'm Drew, 34 now. This happened about 12 years ago when I was 22, but it's relevant right now because of something that happened last month that brought all of it back. I'll get to that. Back then, I was living outside of Minneapolis, still at my mom's house, working at an auto body shop, doing collision repair, fender work, paint matching, pulling dents, the usual. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't pay great, but I liked the work. There's something about taking a car that got smashed up and making it look like nothing ever happened. You fix what's broken and move on. Clean, simple. Wish relationships worked the same way. I was young, naive, the kind of kid who thought love was something you found once and it just worked forever, like a light switch. Nobody told me that wasn't how it went. Or maybe they did and I wasn't listening. Probably the second one. My buddy Kyle was the opposite of me in every way when it came to women. He'd been through like 4 girlfriends in 2 years and treated each breakup like a Tuesday. On to the next one was literally his philosophy. I thought he was cold. Turns out he was just realistic. I was the romantic. I was the idiot who thought finding the one at 20 was normal and not statistically unlikely. Kyle tried to warn me about a lot of what happened next. I didn't listen to any of it. Ally met her when I was 20. She was 19. Friend of a friend's girlfriend. We ended up at the same house party and spent the whole night talking on somebody's back porch while everybody else was inside. She was funny, quick, had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room, even when there were 30 other people around. We talked until like 2 a.m., and I drove home that night thinking about her the entire way. First girl I ever said, "I love you to." First real relationship I'd ever had that felt like it was actually going somewhere. First time I ever thought, this is the person I'm going to be with. Just knew it. Felt it in my chest. 20-year-olds are very confident about things they have no experience with. That's both our best and worst quality. We dated for about 2 years and things were genuinely good. Or at least I thought they were. She was living with her mom, Paula. I was living with mine. Both of us working, both saving. The plan was to eventually get our own place, combine our savings, split the rent, build something together. Normal young couple stuff. We'd drive around on weekends looking at apartment listings and talking about what kind of couch we'd get. Stupid happy stuff that felt like the most important thing in the world at the time. My mom liked Ally. She liked her. That mattered to me because my mom's a good judge of character about most things. She just couldn't see what was coming any better than I could. Or maybe she could and didn't want to ruin it for me. Moms do that sometimes. Then Ally got a second job. She started working evenings at a convenience store, one of those gas station places that's open till midnight. Said she wanted to save faster so she could buy a car and we could start looking at apartments. Made sense. I respected the hustle. I was barely scraping by at the body shop. Collision repair pays okay once you've got experience. But at 22, I was still near the bottom of the ladder. I wasn't in a position to speed things up on my end. So her picking up extra shifts felt like progress. Like we were both working toward the same thing. After a few months at this job, something shifted. Not overnight, more like a slow leak. She was on her phone more, laughed less when we were together. Started canceling plans with these half-excuses that didn't quite land. I'm tired. I picked up an extra shift. Jen wants to hang out. Nothing you could point to on its own, but together it added up to a feeling I couldn't shake. One time she told me she had to cover someone's shift. And then I saw her car parked at an apartment complex on the other side of town, nowhere near the store. I drove past it on the way to Kyle's place and just saw it sitting there. Her little blue Honda that she'd saved up for and was so proud of at an apartment I didn't recognize. On a night she told me she was at work. I didn't say anything. Told myself I was being paranoid. Told myself there was probably an explanation. Maybe she was visiting somebody. Maybe Jen lived there. Maybe I was losing my mind. You tell yourself a lot of things when the truth is worse than the uncertainty. Then she started giving one of her coworkers rides home after their shifts. A guy named Dylan. She mentioned him once. Real casual, the way you'd mention the weather. Dylan lives on my way, so I give him a ride. It's no big deal. Fine, whatever. People give coworkers rides. Didn't think twice about it. Kyle raised an eyebrow when I told him, but Kyle raised an eyebrow about everything. Finding out. I found out from 2 different sources in the same week, which pretty much eliminated any chance it was a rumor. First was one of her coworkers, a girl named Jen, who worked the same shift at the store. Jen pulled me aside at a party and said she thought I should know that Ally and Dylan had been hanging out after work. Not just the ride home, hanging out at his apartment late multiple times a week. She said she'd watched it happen for weeks and felt guilty about not saying something sooner. I thanked her. Didn't show any reaction. Went home and sat in my truck in the driveway for probably 20 minutes staring at the steering wheel. Part of me already knew, had known for a while, the car at the apartment complex, the canceled plans, the way her phone was suddenly always face down. You notice these things even when you're trying not to. I sat on it for a couple days. Didn't confront Ally. Didn't tell Kyle. Just carried it around like a rock in my chest. Then Ally's best friend, Kim, called me. Kim had been closer with Ally than anyone. They'd known each other since elementary school. She sounded uncomfortable on the phone. Said she'd been going back and forth for weeks about whether to tell me, but she couldn't watch it anymore. Ally had been seeing Dylan for at least 2 months. Not just hanging out. Seeing him. Sleeping with him at his apartment after work. Multiple nights a week. Kim had confronted Ally about it, and Ally told her to mind her business and that what happened with Dylan was separate from what she had with me. Separate. Like she could just keep them in different boxes and nobody would notice. 2 sources, same story, same timeline, same guy, same apartment. There was no denying it anymore. I confronted Ally that night. She cried, denied everything. Said Jen was jealous because she also liked Dylan. Said Kim was being dramatic. Said I was being insecure and controlling for even bringing it up. I was 22 and in love and she was crying in my arms. And I believed her. I actually believed her. Because when you love someone that hard, you'd rather be wrong about the evidence than right about the betrayal. I let it go. Told myself the rumors were just people being messy. Went back to normal. Looking back now, 12 years later, that's the moment that still makes me cringe the most. Not what she did, what I accepted. I had the truth sitting right in front of me and I chose the comfortable lie. That's on me. The trip. About a month after I decided to believe Ally's denials, because that's what I did, I made a decision to believe her. Even though every piece of evidence said otherwise, my buddy Kyle brought up a trip. 4 of us from the shop were going to drive down to South Padre for a long weekend. Kyle, me, and 2 other guys, Jake and Pete. I'd never been to Texas, never been on a real trip at all. Honestly, the farthest I'd been from Minneapolis was a family camping trip to Wisconsin when I was 12. I had a little money saved from overtime at the body shop, and I figured a few days away from everything might clear my head. Give me some distance from the situation with Ally. She wasn't thrilled about the trip, didn't fight it openly, but made sure I knew she wasn't happy through the usual methods. Short texts, long silences, 1-word answers. I went anyway. I'm not going to sugarcoat this part because it matters for understanding the rest of the story. While I was in Texas, I messed up. Second night, bar on the beach, met a girl, made a terrible decision. I regretted it immediately, like within the hour. This crushing guilt that sat on my chest like a cinder block for the rest of the trip. Couldn't sleep right, couldn't eat. Every time my phone buzzed and Allie's name popped up, I felt physically sick. Kyle asked if I was okay and I told him I ate something bad. Couldn't bring myself to say the truth out loud. Was it revenge for what she'd been doing with Dylan? Probably. Subconsciously, some part of my brain went, she's been doing it for months, so what does it matter? And that part won for one night. But that's not an excuse, and I'm not pretending it is. I did a bad thing. Carry it. I'm not the victim of that particular moment. I'm the cause. When I got back to Minneapolis, I was such a mess of guilt and confusion that I did the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. And that includes the time I tried to fix a dent with a plunger at the shop. I went straight to a jewelry store and bought an engagement ring. A ring. That was my solution. Not therapy, not an honest conversation. Not breaking up with a girl who was already cheating on me. An $1,800 diamond ring purchased with overtime money by a 22-year-old brain that somehow concluded the appropriate response to infidelity on both sides was a lifetime commitment. Kyle found out about the ring and called me. You're joking. I wasn't joking. Drew, bro, you're proposing to a girl you know is cheating on you because you also cheated on her and feel bad about it. Do you hear yourself? I heard myself. I just didn't listen. I proposed. She said yes. She cried. I cried. We held each other and I convinced myself that everything was going to be fine and we'd start fresh and the past was the past. The delusion was Olympic level. I should have gotten a medal. The 4 breakups. We were engaged for about 18 months. During that time, she broke up with me 4 times. 4 separate times over the dumbest things you could possibly imagine. Each one following the exact same pattern. She'd get upset about something small, escalate it into a crisis, say, "We need to talk," dump me, and then come back a few days later acting like nothing happened. Breakup number 1. She came over to my mom's house with a bag of laundry because her mom's dryer was busted. I tossed it in with mine. Normal boyfriend stuff. When the cycle finished, she opened the dryer and pulled out her clothes. They were slightly damp, not soaking wet, not ruined. Damp like maybe needed another 10 minutes on low heat. She stuffed everything in her bag, grabbed her keys, walked out without a word, and dumped me by text when she got home. I don't think this is working. Over damp clothes. I sat on my bed staring at that text for probably an hour. I was crushed. First time anyone had broken my heart and I didn't know what to do with it. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Called Kyle and he came over and sat with me and said, "Dude, she dumped you over laundry. This is not the one." I didn't listen. She called 2 days later, acting completely normal like nothing happened. I let her back in because of course I did, because I was 22 and I thought love meant never letting go, even when someone keeps throwing you on the ground. Breakup 2 was about 3 weeks later. Something about me not responding to a text fast enough while I was at work. She sent me something at 2 p.m. I was under a car doing frame straightening. My phone was in my locker. Didn't see it until 5. She'd already sent 4 follow-ups by then, escalating from hey to I guess I know where I stand. By the time I called her, she was done, dumped again, back together in 2 days. Breakup 3 was because I made plans with Kyle on a Saturday night she apparently wanted to go to dinner but hadn't told me about. She had the dinner planned in her head. I had no idea it existed, and somehow I was the one who didn't prioritize her. Kyle made fun of me for taking her back that time. "You know you're a clown, right?" "Yeah, Kyle, I know." But I stopped taking the breakups seriously. They became background noise. She'd dump me. I'd wait a couple days. She'd come back. It was exhausting, but I'd normalized it because that's what you do when you're in too deep. You adjust to dysfunction until it feels like routine. Breakup 4. The real one. The one that finally stuck. I was out of town for a work training thing. 3 days in a hotel outside of Chicago, learning about new paint systems for the shop. Valentine's Day fell right in the middle of it. I called her from the hotel that evening to ask how she wanted to celebrate when I got back. Maybe dinner, maybe a movie, something simple. "We need to talk." Those 4 words, same flat tone, same script. Every single breakup started with those 4 words. She said she wasn't sure this was what she wanted with her life. that she needed space, that she didn't know if she was ready to be engaged. The usual vague stuff people say when they want out but don't want to be the bad guy. Except this time, I didn't fight it. Something in me just snapped off. Not anger, more like exhaustion. For breakups in 18 months. Cheating rumors. I've been too dumb to act on. A relationship that felt more like a hostage situation with a ring on it. Okay, I said. When I'm back, come get the ring and pick up your stuff. I'll have it ready. She went quiet long enough that I checked if the call dropped. That's it. Yeah, ally, that's it. I think she expected the usual routine. Me begging, apologizing for whatever she decided I did wrong, promising to be better. Instead, she got a guy who finally hit the bottom of his willingness to care. And she didn't know what to do with that. Edit. People saying I should have ended it after the first breakup. Yeah, obviously. But when you're 22 and in love with someone, you don't make smart decisions. You make 22-year-old decisions which are often terrible. Edit 2. Yeah, the ring was a guilt purchase. I know. I've had 12 years to think about how stupid that was. Trust me, I'm aware. Quick math on this relationship. She cheated on him. He cheated on her back. His solution, a diamond ring. I'm sorry, but that's like your house being on fire and going, you know what'll fix this? A second, lesser fire. For breakups during one engagement is also crazy. That means they break up every 4.5 months. At that point, it's not a relationship anymore. She continues canceling and re-signing up for the membership to get the free trial again. She finally breaks up with him for good on Valentine's Day, which is kind of poetic. He says, okay, 2 letters. That's it. I bet Ally practiced a 30-minute speech in front of the mirror, and Drew only gave her 2 letters. She wasn't ready for all right. No one ever is. She's coming to get her things now, and she's bringing backup. 3 weeks later, an update was posted. She came to grab her things as planned. After that, she and her mom started pointing to the furniture in my house. The nerve was nearly impressive. A quick summary. My ex-fiancée of 2 years cheated on me with a coworker. I asked her to marry me because I felt bad, like an idiot. During our engagement, she broke up with me 4 times. The 4th one eventually worked. I instructed her to come and retrieve her things and the ring. This is what occurred. The pickup. She came 3 days after I returned back from the training trip. I was ready for whatever. The little things she left at my mom's house while we were together for 2 years. A pair of shoes, some clothes, her shampoo and conditioner, a hairdryer, and a DVD of a movie I had paid for but didn't want. That was all. We were together for 2 years, but we never lived in the same place. The only things she left behind in my life were a grocery bag and a shoebox. She wasn't by herself. Ally's mom, Paula, brought her. I had met Paula several times before. She was the kind of mom who thought of her daughter as a best friend instead of a kid. Paula agreed with anything Ally demanded. Paula agreed with what Ally said. They were a group in the worst sense possible. Like a group of lawyers when one person makes the case and the other person nods along. When they came in, I kept things simple and gave Ally the grocery bag and the shoebox. She sat them down, took the ring off her finger, and presented it to me. It was fine and grown up. I thought we were over. Then she slowly gazed about my mom's living room, as if she were judging it, and said something that I will never forget. Shouldn't I get more? I must have made a face because she instantly did it again. We were engaged, I should get more things. I should get half, right? I laughed. Not a nice laugh. A real one. The kind that pours out before your brain can stop it. I was in my mom's living room with a ring I had bought for a woman who had broken up with me 4 times. And she said she should get half. Half of what? We never lived together, shared a lease, or split a bill. She had never paid for anything in that house with her own money. It was my mom's house, my mom's furniture, and my mom's TV. What do you mean by half? We don't even reside in the same place. This isn't your stuff. It's not even mine. My mom owns it. That's when Paula got involved. She walked around the living room, my mother's living room, in my mother's house, pointing at things like the TV, the bookcase, and a lamp on the side table that had been there since I was a kid. You've been together for a long time, and she's put a lot of time and effort into this relationship. That should mean something. Time is important. Time. She put in time. She had been working and was owed overtime and a severance payout. Paula, I'm not giving you my mom's furniture. It's not about the things themselves. It's the principle that matters. What is the principle? She broke up with me 4 times. She ended this on Valentine's Day while I was in a hotel room. Now she wants furniture from a house she never lived in. My mom owns that, but she's not here right now. Ally jumped in. Her voice started to shake like it always did before she sobbed. I simply feel like I should get something out of all the time and effort I've put into this relationship over the past 2 years, including an engagement. That's not insane. You're leaving with your clothing, your shampoo, your hairdryer, and a DVD that I bought but don't want. That's all of your stuff that was in this house. That's all there is. You don't own anything else here. What about the ring? The ring is mine. You gave it back. I own it. But it was my ring. While we were engaged, it was your ring. You broke up with me for the 4th time. Therefore, we're not engaged anymore. They kept going for around 5 more minutes. Paula pointed to a frame on the wall. A picture of my mom and me from about 10 years ago. Ally talked about the coffee maker. The coffee machine that my mom bought with her own money at Target for her own kitchen in her own house. These 2 women wanted my mom's coffee maker because they had been together for 2 years, and that should mean something. I've thought about that scene over and over again, and it still doesn't make sense. We never lived in the same house. She never paid a bill. She never gave a single cash to anything in the house. And she was pointing to things like she was making a claim. I stepped to the front door and opened it all the way. We're finished here. Grab your bag and go. Paula said something about how this wasn't fair and then walked toward the door. Ally grabbed the bag of groceries and the box of shoes. She stood on the front step for a second and looked at me with the same look I had seen her wear before, shortly before breakups 2 and 3. The hurt gaze, the soft eyes, and the head tilt. She was waiting for me to blink, say wait, say I didn't mean it, or urge her to come back. The same play she had been doing for 2 years. There was no pole this time, nothing. The hook was missing. The line she'd been pulling me in on for 2 years suddenly broke, and there was nothing on the other end. I looked her in the eye and said, "Good luck, Ally. You're going to need it. Both of you." She opened her lips, closed it, glanced at her mom, looked back at me, then turned around, got in Paula's car, and drove away. An hour later, my mom returned home and I informed her what had happened. She was quiet for a moment. Then she went to the living room and looked at the lamp, the coffee maker, and the TV. She said, "She wanted my things." I answered, "Yeah." My mom shook her head slowly. That girl is as brave and smart as her mother. Neither of those makes sense. That was the last time I saw Ally for 12 years. The ring. The next day, I took it to a pawn shop. I got around 40% of what I paid back, which hurt. Ring worth $1,800. I think I walked away with $720. But really, I just wanted it to go away. Wanted it out of my mind and out of my house. I used the money to pay off a credit card that I had been carrying a balance on since the trip. It seemed like the first smart financial decision I'd made in 2 years. Possibly the first one I ever made. Kyle took me to a dive bar near the store that weekend. We sat in a booth and I told him everything that had happened. The furnishings, the coffee maker, Paula pointing at the lamp, the ring debate, and the "I'm entitled to half" phrase. The bartender looked over to see if we were okay because he was laughing so hard. She desired the light. The lamp that belongs to your mom. The one with the hideous shade that has been there since we were in middle school. That lamp, dude. He shook his head and took a sip. You didn't get away with it. You missed a full rocket. Similar to a missile that goes from the ground to the air. That thing was locked on and following you. And you somehow made it through. He was right. He had been right about everything from the start. About Ally, the ring, and getting back together with her after every breakup. I wasn't ready to hear it until I had done everything stupid first. Do you know what's the worst part? I told him. She never even apologized for any of it. Not the cheating, not the breakups, not the furniture thing, nothing. She just left. And I don't think she thinks she did anything wrong. Kyle looked at me for a second. Some people don't, man. Some people go through their whole life thinking everybody else is the problem. And there's nothing you can do about it except not be standing next to them when it all falls apart. That stuck with me, still does 12 years later. Here's why I'm writing this now. Not because of what happened back then. I processed that a long time ago. But because of something that happened last month that brought all of it rushing back. I'm 34. Married. My wife Hannah and I have been together 7 years. Married for 4. We own a house in Woodbury, 3 bedrooms, good neighborhood. A garage I've been slowly turning into a proper workshop on weekends. I left the body shop years ago, and now I run the collision department at a dealership group. Good money, good benefits, health insurance that actually covers things. The kind of stable, quiet life I couldn't have imagined at 22 when I was buying guilt rings and ignoring red flags. Hannah is an occupational therapist. She works with kids, mostly developmental stuff, helping them build motor skills and learn how to navigate the world. She's the most patient human being I've ever met, which I think you'd have to be to put up with me. She knows the full Allie story. I told her early on because I believe in being honest about the dumb things you did when you were young. So the person you're with knows exactly who they're getting. She laughed at the damp laundry breakup. Said, if I dumped you every time you left clothes in the dryer too long, we'd have broken up 400 times. She's right. We've got a dog named Breaks, short for no breaks, which is what I said the first time. He sprinted across the yard as a puppy and crashed into the fence at full speed without slowing down. He's 4 now. Still has no brakes. Name holds up. About a month ago, I was at a grocery store. Saturday morning, nothing special, just the usual weekend run. Hannah gave me a list and I was working through it aisle by aisle the way I always do, top to bottom, efficient. I was in the cereal section comparing 2 brands that looked identical, but one cost $2 more. When somebody said my name, I turned around and it was Ally. She looked different. Older, obviously 12 years will do that. But tired in a way that wasn't about sleep. The kind of tired that lives in your eyes and your shoulders. She was with a kid, a girl, maybe 4 or 5, who was holding a juice box and kicking the bottom of the cart rhythmically. Ally had that look parents get when they've been running on fumes for weeks and the tank is still empty. Oh my God, Drew. It's been forever. I was polite. Said, hi, how are you? The small talk you make when you see someone from a different life. She claimed that living with my mom again was pleasant, even though she was going through a divorce. She spoke it like she was talking about the weather, but you could hear how heavy it was in her voice. You could hear it. I didn't ask for specifics. I didn't need them, didn't want them. She then looked at my wedding ring on my hand. Her eyes rested on it for a second longer than they usually do. Did you get married? Yes, 7 years. Drew, that's very awesome. She didn't sound like she thought it was amazing. She sounded like someone who couldn't afford to eat at a restaurant. Do you ever think about us? I will be honest. At that moment, I was in a grocery store cereal aisle carrying a box of something. I felt something, not for her but for the child I used to be. The 22-year-old who bought a guilt ring and chased a girl who broke up with him 4 times. I was sad for that version of myself and thankful that he grew up. I said, no, I don't. She nodded. Didn't push it. Told me it was nice to see me. I said the same thing back because that's what you say. She took her cart and her baby and left. I stayed in the cereal aisle for about 30 seconds, just thinking about what had happened. 12 years turned into 1 aisle. All the love, betrayal, remorse, and furniture fights I had back then came back to me like a highlight reel and then just faded away like a TV shutting off. The screen went black, so I moved on. I grabbed the cereal and headed home. While we were unloading the groceries, I told Hannah about it. She didn't say anything the whole time. She put down a bag of apples, glanced at me with that half smile she gets when she's ready to say something great, and asked, did she try to take the cereal? I love that lady. I love her a lot. Honestly, what it taught me is crazy. Ally wasn't evil. I need to make that obvious. She was young and selfish, and her mother taught her that relationships were like business deals where the other person constantly owed you something. The furniture, coffee maker, lamp, and half that she wanted at the end weren't things she thought of on her own. That was learned. That was Paula. Paula raised a daughter who really thought that spending time with someone else gave you the right to their things. Not their love, respect, or even friendship. Just their things, their physical things. She thought that a breakup was like a layoff and that she should get a severance payout. I was also dumb. I was really dumb. If you don't think about it too much, it's almost funny. When two different people told me about the cheating, I didn't pay attention. I asked her to marry me because I felt bad instead of having a real talk. I let her break up with me 4 times and continued accepting her back because I was more afraid of being alone than of being treated horribly. I was so scared of losing something that wasn't even beneficial for me that I held on until my hands were sore. It's not all her fault. A lot of stuff is mine. I let it all happen because I didn't have enough self-respect to leave the first, second, or third time. Every time she came back and I opened the door, I told her that it was okay to act that way, and she believed me. Why wouldn't she? But as she stood in my mom's living room and stated, "I'm entitled to half," I comprehended something that has been with me every day since. Not everyone loves you. They love what you offer. The things, the comfort, the stability. And as soon as you stop giving it to them or they decide they don't need it anymore, they'll try to take all they can carry with them when they go. I don't dislike Ally. I haven't in years. But I'm thankful. I'm glad she showed me who she was before I married her. She showed me what I needed to see when I was 22, before we had kids or shared a lease, bank account, or mortgage. So when I met Hannah at 27, I could see the difference between someone who loves you and someone who loves what you can do for them. Good luck, Ally. I shouted it then while I was on my mom's porch. I mean it now that I'm in my own house with a woman who would never point at a lamp and say that's hers. One thing that still bothers me. She borrowed my favorite gray zip-up hoodie when we were together. It wasn't too pricey. I had it since I was in high school. It was broken in a way that wasn't ideal, the kind of soft that takes years to get. She never returned it. I didn't thought to ask for it when I picked it up since I was too preoccupied protecting my mom's lamp. Since then, I've bought about 10 hoodies to replace it. Zip-up gray shirts from different brands and with varied sizes. They are all different. You can't make up for 10 years of wear. You can't buy that softness in a store. Comes from time. I guess it's a lot like relationships. Takes time to break in the good ones. The terrible ones just fall apart. You probably won't find another sweatshirt like that one. Anyway, my wife is amazing. Dogs are speedy. The workshop is going well. Things are going well. Edit. People are wondering about Dylan. I don't know what happened to him. I don't care. Someone else wrote a story about him. And I stopped reading the book 12 years ago. Change 2. Updates on breaks as people keep asking. He is sleeping on the couch right now. Still no breaks. The vet thinks he's full of energy. That's one way to put it. He knocked over the Christmas tree last year and then sat in the mess and looked happy with himself. We don't deserve dogs. I really need to talk about Paula for a minute. Paula stepped into a house that wasn't hers, that her daughter had never lived in, paid rent on, or even had a key to, and started pointing at a lamp like she was at an auction. A lamp that has been on the same side table since before her daughter got her driver's license. That lamp is not yours, ma'am. That has never been your lamp. That lamp has been in that living room longer than your daughter has been with this man. It takes a lot of guts to go into a stranger's house and remove their coffee maker because your daughter dated their son. That's not being entitled. That's a mental disease that comes with a purse. Also, the situation with the grocery store. Drew is married now, 12 years later. The dog named Breaks is in the garage, and Allie is back at her mom's house. They probably still want half of the lamp. Some folks get it. Some individuals keep doing the same thing and wonder why it doesn't work anymore. Drew got it. Allie is still in charge of the play. If you liked the story today, please hit the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. You may find all the links in the description below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Truly does mean a lot. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.